2015, a Saudi-led coalition to attack Yemen. 2026, a Saudi-led coalition to defend Saudi Arabia from Yemen. Saudi Arabia is reportedly preparing for a large-scale war against Yemen's Ansar Allah that could involve both naval and ground operations in central Yemen, according to Yemeni sources in The Guardian. You don't have to be a brainiac to understand that the Saudis, they tried to create some sort of a civil war by creating this ethnic divide, religious divide. They even tried in Yemen so as to dislodge Ansar Allah from the seat of power in Sana'a. Saudi Arabia, the UAE, the United States, and other Western allies waged a decade-plus long war against Yemen's Ansar Allah. They starved their people. They besieged their country. They cut them off from vital medical equipment and supplies and humanitarian supplies and goods. And Yemen stood strong at the end of it all. So you don't have to be a brainiac to understand that, but our friends at Dropsite News just uncovered the actual facts of this story. So they just published this. Secret Saudi cables obtained by Dropsite News reveal that Salman bin Abdulaziz, now king of Saudi Arabia, recommended manufacturing a sectarian rift inside Yemen in 2012 to target Ansar Allah. This leaked cable comes from the Special Committee of the Council of Ministers, a Saudi body founded in 1962 to run Yemen policy. Its name has never appeared in the official media of either country. Salman's recommendation to the committee, according to the January 2012 cable, support Salafi tribes working to fight the Houthis, to open several fronts against them, work to create the dispute between the Houthis and the followers of the Zaidi sect, and ensure the fighting does not appear as a sectarian war or that the kingdom stands behind it. Incredible. Why hide it? Well, the plan needed Zaidis to turn on Ansar Allah because no one in Yemen would have joined Riyadh's war against their own sect. The money is all documented. A royal directive signed by King Abdullah on February 13th, 2010, 2 days later, after Saudi Arabia declared its border war over, redirected 50 million riyals to arm the Salafi tribes in the north. Receipts followed for years. The kingdom also endorsed building a new branch of the Damaj Salafi Seminary in Zaidi heartland, calling it a good thing that helps weaken the Houthi movement. Okay, so are we surprised by any of that? No, but I will tell you what I am surprised by. Former President Joe Biden, he decided to assemble one day a 16-nation naval coalition to try and dislodge Yemen's Ansar Allah. It didn't work. It blew up in his face. In fact, it went so poorly that the U.S., from that point on, they feared sailing any of their vessels near Yemeni coastlines. So instead of passing through the Red Sea with the U.S. Navy, they go all the way down across the tip of South Africa. Well, then Trump comes into office. Trump has a new idea. He says, I'm going to be the one that dislodges Yemen's Ansar Allah from Sana'a, Yemen. He assembles some countries together. They put together this joint coalition. You know, what did they call it? They had some other Epsteinite name for this operation. And they all got together and they said, we're going to take out Yemen's Ansar Allah. And guess what? They failed. I was in Sana'a. I was in Sana'a when this took place. We had the bombings right next to us. What did they hit? I mean, they hit military targets sometimes, but I went to many places they hit civilian areas too. I also saw the remnants of the U.S.-Saudi decade-plus long war against Yemen. I saw cancer hospitals bombed in the Sana'a government. I saw universities bombed. In fact, the United States, about a week before I got to Sana'a, which is on the border of Saudi Arabia in the north, the United States bombed a cancer hospital that was under construction. It would have been the only cancer hospital within any meaningful distance of the civilians that live in the government. The next closest one was in Sana'a, which is like a 7-hour car drive away. So this is what the U.S. was bombing in Yemen. And somehow they thought that this was going to force the Yemenis to turn against their government. And then magically, you know, we're going to have a Ansar Allah free Yemen. Didn't happen. Trump He went with his tail between his legs back home to D.C., and he even gave a statement to the press from the Oval Office saying how brave, resistant, and courageous Yemenis were and how strong they were. So Trump walked out of that war. He wanted no part of that war against Yemen. And in fact, he did come to an understanding with Yemen's Ansar Allah at the end of that short conflict. The understanding was that U.S. ships would not be targeted by Yemen so long as, the I guess, negotiated ceasefire process continued in Gaza, right? This was after the Board of Peace and all this stuff, right? So as long as that continued, then the U.S. would not have their ships targeted. And, well, the Israelis were not cut into that deal. The Israelis could not sail through the Red Sea. So Trump, after all those bombs, after all those troops they put in harm's way off the coast of Yemen, and actually there were a few, as I understand, Navy SEALs that sunk to the bottom of the Red Sea in an attempt to try and, I don't know, I guess, go into Hodeidah maybe on the coastline. I don't know what they were trying to do, but after all that, they couldn't even secure safe passage to Israeli ships through the Red Sea. They just left them high and dry and walked away from the situation. So Yemen, they're pretty badass, needless to say. But now they have another annoying pest that is buzzing around their ears, and this time it's Saudi Arabia. So we have covered extensively the tit for tat back and forth. You can't even call it a tit for tat because like Saudi Arabia will send in a surveillance drone and then Yemen blows up 4 of the largest Saudi Aramco facilities in the country as a response. Arcane, thank you for the super chat. Yo, Jackson, you need a moderator up in here? What's going on in the chat? I don't see anything bad. It looks fine to me. Thank you for the super chat. So Yemen has just been absolutely torching Saudi Arabia, vaporizing Saudi Arabia. And they have no response, I guess, until now, because Yemen has come out and apparently discussed the idea of charging tolls for ships passing through the Bab el-Mandeb Strait into the Red Sea. I guess they've learned from the Iranians that this is a very easy way to make a lot of money, and why not do it if all these countries are treating Yemen so poorly? Saudi Arabia doesn't like that, and they have announced a new international alliance to protect shipping in the Red Sea from Houthi attacks. That's what they claim. They claim it's just to protect, shipping in the Red Sea. Because Trump's efforts, the U.S. Navy, they could not protect shipping in the Strait of Hormuz. So what makes Saudi Arabia think they're going to be able to do any better in the Red Sea? I don't know. What makes Saudi Arabia think that they're going to do any better than the U.S.-European naval coalition to try and dislodge Yemen's Ansar Allah, which both Biden and Trump tried to do and failed? I don't know. But this is what they're doing. Participants of this coalition, led by Saudi Arabia, include states such as Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, and Jordan, none of which have a navy, as well as the third world nations of Bangladesh, Nigeria, Sudan, and Djibouti. The only 3 major nations in the alliance are Pakistan, Turkey, and Egypt. America did not agree to join the alliance, nor did any other European or Western country. Now that I find to be absolutely hilarious. Think about all Saudi Arabia and all these Gulf states have suffered to try and protect U.S. interests in the Gulf. And how does the U.S. repay them? Yeah, we're not going to get involved in that mess in the Red Sea. You guys handle that one on your own. No one from Europe even joined in. I guess the shrinkage of the Saudi economy is hitting a bit harder than any of them would like to admit, because no longer can Saudi Arabia buy military access. Somehow or another, they're going to be effectively left to defend themselves against Yemen, and that's not going to go well. In fact, a new report just came out, quarter 3. We had Saudi Arabia had, I think it was a 4.6% decline in their national economy, which is actually the largest. It's the largest decline, single quarter decline that Saudi Arabia has had since COVID. That is a big hit for the Saudis. And now people are just making memes of this. 2015, a Saudi-led coalition to attack Yemen. 2026, a Saudi-led coalition to defend Saudi Arabia from Yemen. It's so ironic that, you couldn't write a better script, right? And the 16-country coalition, half the countries don't have a navy. Mohammed bin Salman, what are you going to do? Buddy, just admit defeat. Admit defeat. Go back to your OnlyFans parties, go back to your Labubu collection, go back to your eating your Dubai chocolate and partying with all these greasy sheiks in Saudi Arabia and just accept defeat. What are you going to do? Informed sources say after a large number of Arab, Islamic, and European countries refuse to participate, Saudi Arabia will host the first meeting of the naval coalition to break the embargo imposed on it by Sana'a forces and protected ships and oil tankers in the Red Sea and Bab el-Mandeb Strait. With the participation, cross out America. America's not involved in this mess, apparently. Or maybe they recently joined. I don't know. Initially, they were not on board. Oman, Sudan, Bahrain, Kuwait, Jordan, Morocco, Bangladesh, New Zealand, and the Maldives apparently have also joined. The sources added Saudi Arabia formed a broad coalition in 2015 under the name Operation Decisive Storm with the aim of overthrowing the coup and restoring Sana'a. After 12 years, its goal has become to protect its ships and break the siege imposed on it in response to its siege of Yemen, which may cost it very heavy prices and inflict severe losses. Now, some media outlets are now reporting that this whole Saudi naval coalition is not so much of a naval coalition just to protect maritime access in the Red Sea. And again, I will repeat, it doesn't make sense. If Saudi Arabia is talking about, a maritime security coalition, why do so many of the countries in this coalition not have navies? Well, according to The Guardian, Saudi Arabia is preparing a major offensive against Ansar Allah in Yemen. Saudi Arabia is reportedly preparing for a large-scale war against Yemen's Ansar Allah that could involve both naval and ground operations in central Yemen, according to Yemeni sources in The Guardian, as Riyadh seeks to restore the flow of its oil exports through the southern Red Sea. Saudi troops have reportedly been pulling back from eastern Yemen, a move some sources may be linked to preparations for land operations. At the same time, Riyadh is working to establish a multinational naval coalition, blah, blah, blah. On Thursday, the Saudi Defense Ministry announced that 14 countries have joined this coalition. And according to The Guardian, they say Riyadh has also called on the U.S. and European countries to join. And so far, there's been no word on whether or not they will participate in this coalition. We do have confirmation that Saudi Arabia has withdrawn their proxy forces from eastern Yemen, a move that could indicate preparations for a ground operation against Ansar Allah. And in response, right, I'm going to warn you guys that, Saudi Arabia at best, they've got like 1,000 Indians that they can probably send in there to try and fight for them. This is how Yemenis are responding. This is in the middle of one of the most brutal storms that Yemen has seen in many months, and you have millions and millions of people out in the streets in support of their government. And this, by the way, is just footage from Sana'a. If you look at footage from any of the other major... Oh! My good friend. I can't actually see. The video's too small. Oh, that's Daif al-Shami. I was just with him in Iran. And when we were in Yemen, I'll show you guys this. This is a great photo. When we were in... What the hell is this? When we were in Yemen, we spent some time in the mountains of Sana'a. where the first battle of Ansar Allah took place, actually where Ansar Allah was founded. And that was a special time. That was a very special time. So he was actually injured in the first battle. He was shot in the first battle and he escaped. And this was actually where the founder of Ansar Allah was he was in a cliffside. They were hiding out on a cliffside on the mountainside under a big rock structure, and they kept bombing it. And he eventually came out of here and was captured. But they fought until the very end, and eventually they persisted and made it out. I wrote about this day I had there, and we visited the gravesite of Sayyid Hussein Bedruddin al-Houthi. It was very, very powerful. But anyways, to be here with them was amazing. So anyways, as I was saying, there's literally millions and millions of people. They're not going to win this. This is everyone in Yemen. Literally everyone in Yemen has an AK. Everyone has a gun. In fact, when I was there, they were like half joking. They're like, yeah, when you turn 1 year old in Yemen, if you're a boy, you get gifted your first AK-47. You get gifted an AK when you turn 1. Like, this is just a mess waiting to happen. This is a bloodbath. This is a suicide mission waiting to happen. If you had to ask me what is more of a suicide mission, U.S. troops in Iran or Saudi ground operations in Yemen, I would tell you guys it's a toss-up, and I kind of lean towards the Saudi operations in Yemen being a bigger mess. We'll have to see, but Yemen's Yahya Saree, who is the spokesperson and general of the military forces of Ansar Allah, he was speaking right on the Saudi border, presumably this week, talking about the preparations that their military is undertaking in case of a Saudi full-scale ground operation invasion, and that they have 1 million soldiers already ready for that. Just like, oh yeah, we got 1 million guys ready to go out and defend. I would be willing to bet that they have many millions willing to give up their lives, and that's just the culture, in Yemen. It's like, it is a revolutionary society. People say, what is a revolutionary society, Jackson? A revolutionary society is when everyone is strapped. Everyone's got an AK. Everyone is very, very, very well-versed, politically speaking. They're very educated about not just their faith, which they have a unique faith. They have a Zaidi sect of 12er Shia, so it's unique. But also, I mean, when I was there, just fantastic conversations were had about many faiths, we'll say. And every single night, I was there during Ramadan, and I was in Sana'a, and during my time there, what did we do every single night? You go, you eat at nighttime. It's Ramadan. You break your fast with some dates, and then you eat. And what did we do pretty much every night? The same thing. We sat down, and we're there with a bunch of these brilliant, courageous men. We sit down, and they've got these nice chairs with the armrests, and you can kind of lay back. And then the first thing we do after we have our dinner and we break our fast, we sit down, the TV is on, and you listen to the speech from Sayyid Abdul Malik al-Houthi. Every single night during Ramadan, Sayyid Abdul Malik al-Houthi gave a different speech, and the speeches were, they're like, they're in some ways, I shouldn't say in some ways, they are in fact like religious. There are religious lectures about the Quran and stuff, but it always tied to the military happenings of the day. So it would always tie in some way. You'd take a verse from the Quran and it would be applied to what was happening in Lebanon, or what was happening in Yemen, or what was happening in Iraq, or what was happening in Iran, or what was happening in Gaza. A lot of it was about Gaza, as you could imagine. But also a lot of it was about Yemen because the U.S. was bombing Yemen at that point in time. So it was very powerful. And like everyone there, when just all across the country, they turn on the TV, Saad al-Malik al-Houthi every night of Ramadan. And then after, it's just hours of conversations about what's going on in the world. What do we think is going to happen in the world and stuff? Just fantastic conversations. Okay. And Saad al-Malik al-Houthi gave a speech last night saying indicators showed that the Saudis are heading toward full-scale escalation. We will meet Saudis' full escalation with full escalation. The oppressor will learn that America won't save him. Britain won't save him either. Israel, the Zionist enemy, will not save him either. So that was the word. That was actually a very impressive and I think historic speech that Saad al-Malik al-Houthi gave last night. He also talked about how could it be that Saudi Arabia gave, what is it called? The Kaaba, from Mecca, they gave the carpet to Jeffrey Epstein. And that was a pretty powerful speech he gave. But anyways, I mean, it's really not going to go well for these guys. I don't know what they think that they're getting in the middle of, but this is really going to go poorly for them. And also, I showed you the video of Yahya Saree. Here you go. You guys remember this one? I didn't have YouTube back then. Who's that? Who's that? There I am. There's Yahya Saree. And what a trip that was. I really, God willing, I can return soon to Yemen. And they break this siege once and for all. What a beautiful country Yemen is. Before you leave, I want to say thank you for the support, because after 2 years of being banned, we are finally back home on YouTube. So be sure to subscribe to our channel and also join as a member on our channel using the link at the top of the description. I rely on the generous support of viewers like yourself to get the truth out to as many people as possible. You can also support the show on Locals or Give Sin Go. The mainstream media and the powers that be are never going to stop attacking us for bringing the truth to as many people as we do. Thank you so much for your support.